Hi everybody, I have an older EZGO gas golf cart. It's a Workhorse 1200 model. It's been finally starting to run a little bit rough. It never gets any attention or TLC. I've had it for a long time, a number of years. I've never done anything to it. So it deserves a tune-up, and it's telling me that it needs a tune-up. So I thought I'd make this video and show you guys how to go about doing that. If you don't know the model number of your golf cart, there's various places it can be found. There's data plate somewhere, you just gotta find it. On my particular model, it's here in the passenger side glove box, right here, the model number stamped on the top. On the bottom, there is a manufacturer code. The last 2 digits of that code is actually the year of your golf cart. So for me, it's 01, so this is a 2001, an older model. It could also be found just underneath of your choke knob there. And in some models, it's actually under the seat on the frame cross member under there. My engine compartment was really dirty and dusty and nasty. I've already hosed that off. Everything's still a little bit wet. So you might need to start with hosing off your engine area. You don't want to get dirt and dust inside of your filters and whatnot when you're removing the old ones. So go ahead and clean that off if you need to. I already have. But today we're going to change the air filter, which is inside of this kind of gray box. We're going to change the fuel filter, which is right there in the fuel line. And we're going to change the oil filter, which is located down at the bottom of your engine, and I'll show you better later. And we're going to change the spark plugs. Of course, there's 2 plugs on top. And as far as what parts to use, you can look them up on various websites. But what I've done is kind of take out the old air filter, take out my old spark plugs to see what I needed. So for me, the filter looks like this. This is my new one. And I found that Wix is a good brand of filters. And the Wix 42828 is exactly what I need for this model. And you can find it on Amazon pretty cheap. I'll put the link in the description to the filters that I bought on Amazon. Also, the plugs that I need were BPR 4ES from the NGK brand. And I have a new fuel filter here and my new oil filter. And we will change the oil as well. First thing we're going to do is change the oil filter. We're going to pull out the old oil filter and give it time to drain out. Here's my new filter. You'll see the triangular shaped plate that you'll see from the outside here. Filter sticks in there. It has a new O-ring. If yours for some reason didn't come with a new O-ring, don't forget to use the one off of your old filter, even though that's not ideal, but of course it's better than no O-ring at all, which won't work. It will leak. And you'll see it down there. I'll zoom in underneath the belt, kind of that triangular shaped plate. There's 3 bolts, and we're going to go ahead and remove that now and let the oil drain. Okay, I'm down underneath the golf cart, which I think you can see the filter a little bit better under here. You can also reach it from the top side if that's easier for you. But anyway, have yourself an oil drain pan handy and get yourself a 10mm socket, and just get these 3 bolts loose. Careful not to bust your knuckles. Oops. Okay, I've got the 3 bolts out. Make sure you have some rags handy, and you'll need something to pry this out. You don't want to be careful not to pry against the engine block. We don't want to scratch that or scar that. You can pry against the filter that you're going to throw away. That's not how to do it. That was not stuck in there very much. So, looks like I didn't really need to pry. It was just, I just could have just pulled on it a little bit and it would have came right off. Okay, let's let that drain. Okay, let's go ahead and change our air filter. And if you haven't already, go ahead and clean it off around the outside of the box so that dust and dirt don't fall down in there. When you remove the lid, take the 3 clamps off. The lid will just pull off. And take your old filter out. Now, go ahead at this point and take a clean rag and go ahead and wipe out all the dust in here. Most of the dust will be in this side. The air comes through this rubber inlet boot up into the bottom here. It filters through the filter before it crosses over here to go into your carburetor. Now, then grab your new filter. And one thing I found that the prior owner had done was what I thought was a good idea. Go ahead and write the date on the filter that you replaced it. That way you'll remember when it comes time to check again. So go ahead and put your new filter in place. And then clean your lid off if you need to, if it's dirty. If not, well, before I put it on, one thing I found interesting, the prior owner wrote the air filter part number and the fuel filter part number on here, which is a good idea. So the air filter, again, is a Wix 42828. My fuel filter is also a Wix 33011. So the lid just presses in place on the bottom side, and then you just clamp it in place. And that's it for the air filter. Okay, next we'll change the fuel filter here. And have yourself a rag handy because there may be a little bit of fuel that spills out. So there's just a couple of little clamps here. You need some pliers of some kind to get the clamps loose. And just break your hose free, and then you should be able to just kind of pull it off. Yep. Go ahead and get my rag under there just in case some gas spills. A little bit of gas in the filter there, and my filter is pretty nasty. I don't know if you can see that, but really grimy inside of there. Your new fuel filter will have an arrow indicating the direction of flow for the gas, so make sure that you have it in the proper direction, just like your old one. But obviously it comes from the tank and flows to the engine, so I have an arrow here pointing this way. All right, now we'll put our clamps back on. And that should be it for the fuel filter. Okay, back to the oil filter. It's done draining out. And now we're going to go ahead and put the new one in. So just clean off the area if you need to. Your new filter should have came with a new O-ring. Go ahead, like you would an auto oil filter, and wipe it with some new fresh oil, which I've already done. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the groove right now so that I know it's in there right. Yep. And then the new filter here, the 3 bolt holes will only line up right one way, so just put it in there in the direction that kind of makes sense. Okay. Yep, and start your 3 bolts. I'm just going to go ahead and snug it up, and you don't want to over tighten it because you'll never get it back off. So just I don't have the torque value. If you can find it, more power to you, but I'm just going to use some common sense and just kind of get it a little bit snug, like you would any oil drain bolt. And just kind of work your way around it. Snug up each one a little bit more and keep going around. Final tightening. Okay. Okay, now it's time to put new oil back into the engine. I've already removed the fill cap, so get yourself a funnel, put in there. And I'm using 10W30, which is a good kind of all-around weight of oil in the area that I live, for the temperatures that I have. So I would put in about a quart or so, and then let it settle for a few minutes. And you can check the oil level on your dipstick here, just like a car. Wipe it off, reinsert it, and then check it. And mine's about halfway to 3/4 of the way up between the fill range there. So that should be a good start. So I think I'm going to go ahead, put the lid back on it, and drive it, or drive it around just a little bit, and then park it again on a flat surface. Let it sit for 10 minutes or so the oil can all drain back, and then check it again on the dipstick. And if you need to add a little bit of oil, add a little bit, but don't overfill. Okay, last but not least, we're going to change these two spark plugs out on my engine. And I have the Robin engine, which is a pretty common. It does say on this label here what kind of engine you have. But if you have new plug wires, that might be a good idea as well, but I'm just going to go with plugs. So for me, it's a 13/16 size socket. Again, spark plugs don't need to be very tight, kind of like an oil drain plug. A couple fingers. That's about it. Get your wires back on good. If you're lucky, they'll snap. If not, just push them down there as hard as you can. Okay, I just drove it briefly, just down the driveway and back to get the oil flowing through the filter. Just going to check now if the oil filter area has any leaks. Looks like it's dry. I don't see any drips. Now, I'm going to let the oil settle for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then check the oil in the dipstick and adjust as necessary, and you should be good to go.